Hello, hello. Happy Friday. Happy post-Thanksgiving. I am honored to be with you today, and I have a question. Of course, we have a question. How do people or our surroundings influence us? And how do we influence our friends, acquaintances, and surroundings? It's Friday, November 29th, and I'm Cassie with Dream Big Today. For our noontime together, I thought we could chat about that. So I'm going to read a little bit as we go along, because I know there's some of you that don't have Bibles, or maybe in countries you can't have Bible. But also there's different versions, and so the NLT is what we go through, and I wanted to read it this way because it influenced me. In 2 it says, the king, this is King Darius, he chose Daniel and 2 others as administrators to supervise the high officers and protect the king's interests. Daniel soon proved himself more capable than all the other administrators and all the high officers. Because of Daniel's great ability, the king made plans to place him over an entire empire. That's huge. It also says, so he's noticed for his ability, his work ethic. The king knows who he is. And then over in 6 it says, the administrators and high officers went to the king and said, we are all in agreement. We administrators, officials, high officers, advisors, and governors, that the king should make a law that will be strictly enforced. Give orders that for the next 30 days, any person who prays to anyone, divine or human, except to you, your majesty, will be thrown into the den of lions. The king doesn't notice that Daniel is not there. And the jealous crowd of all these officials, administrators, governors, played to the king's pride, right? The king had plans for Daniel to rule over an entire empire. And he quickly forgets Daniel at the promise of possibly being worshipped for 30 days. So Daniel is working with pagans, and his work ethic has him noticed by everyone and placed very high up. One of the best ways that we can influence our surroundings and people that just kind of know us or know us really well is by how hard we work, and also our attitude toward that. Then, in that, do we need credit for what we do, or do we need everyone to know how much we do? So because of this jealous crowd of officials, they couldn't attack his work ethic. They had to attack what was different, his religion. This didn't change Daniel, though, because in 10 it says, when Daniel learned that the law had been signed, he went home and knelt down as usual in his upstairs room with his windows open toward Jerusalem. He prayed 3 times a day because, just as he had done before, giving thanks to God, even after hearing that law. Daniel responded by continuing his relationship with God, and he believed and trusted with confidence that God would judge him, not the lions, the kings, or the officials. If my surroundings had me in danger, would I be so confident? I can't really think of an in danger situation. I could probably think of a lot of them, but the good example I have is just something simple like going to lunch with a girlfriend who isn't a believer. Maybe we get our food and I offer to pray out loud for our food. Or I'm not comfortable with that, so I just go ahead and pray for my own food. And in that action, there may be questions raised. Maybe that's the action that changes the whole conversation of my time with my girlfriend who does not know the Lord. I have to say that I have a great influence in this because my husband, Paul, he does this in any crowd, whether restaurant or home, park. Paul prays for the meal. The influence of God is stronger than that of his friends or his surroundings. I look up to that. So notice in 14, the king, the officials came and said, Daniel's doing it. He's praying. Now you have to put him in the lion's den. Upon hearing this, the king was deeply troubled, and he tried to think of a way to save Daniel. He spent the rest of the day looking for a way to get Daniel out of this predicament. Once the king made the law could not be changed. And the king was very saddened by this. He couldn't go along with his regular routine. He thought about it. He dwelled on it. He went to Daniel after trying to get him out, and he just said, May your God, whom you serve so faithfully, rescue you. The king was aware of the strength of Daniel, the strength that Daniel carried in his unwavering faith to God. The king doesn't have that in anything. How many people have this unwavering faith in whatever? The book of Daniel is so good for all of us, and especially kids growing up in circles of friends. The king is nervous all night. He thinks about it all night long. It says in 19 that very early the next morning, the king got up and hurried out to the lion's den. When he got there, he called out in anguish, Daniel, servant of the living God, was your God, whom you serve so faithfully, able to rescue you from the lions? I love that because he was... Daniel says that he's been found innocent, that he hasn't done anything wrong, and the king is overjoyed. And so he is lifted out of the lion's den, and those that accuse Daniel, along with their families, are put into the lion's den. So the strength of Daniel's faith and the fact that he was still alive influenced the king so much that he sent out a message with this decree. Everyone throughout my kingdom should tremble with fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, and he will endure forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed. Nebuchadnezzar, we learned earlier that he learned to believe in God because of Daniel and his friends. And now Darius is convinced of God's power. Our influence can have an impact like that. We're not faced with a lion's den, but we are faced with a lot of issues and family members that don't agree with us and friends that swing with other crowds or go with other crowds, or sometimes we're in a situation that just needs to be spoken into, prayed about. A friend that needs encouragement. And are we brave enough? Can we find the words? Can we trust God to give us the words for that? Ask God where you can be stronger, where you can share, how an attitude of gratitude can change for Him. It makes a difference. And God wants our obedience in that. That's all He needs. He does the rest in His timing. Yesterday, I heard a pastor challenge a crowd to get a piece of paper and write down all their worries. Label it worries, write it all down, read it, and now go back and change it to prayer. Does that influence how God is in you, or how God can influence you? Is that how I want to say that? We need to allow God to speak into our lives. And I wonder for myself if my own pride gets in the way of listening to that. So I hope this encouraged you to go back into the Word, dig in, dwell on something, ask God to be with you in reading it. And He always has something to say in it. It is our love letter, His love letter to us. In the comments below, maybe share what you got. nugget or a highlight, also prayer requests and praises, and maybe say happy birthday to our Elizabeth. I'm praying that she has a blessed birthday, that it's been a good week. And I pray that you guys all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.